Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce Singh. Joyce, it's another wonderful day for Oscar. Oscar.
You're just going to do this 9 times, aren't you?
Just stuck in my head forever. But we're back, Joyce, with another edition of Oscar's Playback, back by popular demand, Joyce, it seems.
How popular is it, really?
So popular. Not as popular as the Oscars were in the 90s, but certainly a lot of fun for us, at least. But
I don't know if we've gotten a full season pickup yet, so.
No, not yet. Last week we did the 1992 ceremony, which focused on Silence of the Lambs, Billy Crystal hosting. This week we're back with the 1997 ceremony.
Celebrating the 69th Oscars.
Celebrating
the 96 films, yeah.
Yes, for 96. Billy Crystal's return to hosting after a 4-year break, in which we had Whoopi Goldberg host, David Letterman host, doing Uma Oprah, which gets a shout out in the opening little montage that they did with Billy of the films within the film, or him within the films, which I think maybe is the first time they actually did that, right? It seemed like a novel notion here.
I don't know if that was the first time he did it, but that was his thing.
That was his thing.
Obviously, yeah. Because then, they remember when Anne Hathaway and James Franco hosted, and they, did the same thing, and then he made a guest appearance.
It's pretty fun. I still think Anne Hathaway should host again. I think I've definitely tweeted.
But I think she's been terminally scarred by it.
I know, but she's so funny. She should host as her character from We Crash, Joyce.
We were like 5 minutes in, and you already made a We Crash reference.
So no, we're talking the 69th Oscars, because this was I feel like this was a watershed Oscars, because it was, as we found out in the research, the Independence Day, because this was not just a play on the 1996 blockbuster Independence Day, but independence as films, because only one quote unquote studio movie was nominated for Best Picture at this Oscars, which was Jerry Maguire. I believe Billy references it's one out of 163 major releases, is what he called it in his monologue.
But 164 if you count Michael Ovitz. So
that's good. Good joke. We're killing it.
Yeah. So it's funny to think in retrospect, because for the past 26 years now, or 25 years, whatever, it's been known as that was the year of the Indies, and even back then. But then we know now that the next year we had Titanic.
Correct. So it's perhaps a short-lived independent wave, and also kind of a fungible definition of independence, because English Patient is the big winner here. It dominated the Oscars as it swept through just everything. I think when Tim Rice and Andrew
it had 12 nominations, and it won 9, and it had a perfect score until adapted screenplay, and then it lost 3 in a row.
I think Tim Rice and Andrew Lloyd Webber, when they win for Evita original song, which we'll talk about, because I think you and I both, while appreciate Andrew Lloyd Webber winning an Oscar, have a different winner in that category, I would imagine.
I have a lot of thoughts.
Some faults there, but I would say they both were in their speech. I think Tim Rice jokes, thank goodness there's no original song from The English Patient.
Yeah, Andrew Lloyd Webber.
That's Andrew Lloyd Webber, right?
Literally the first thing he says.
So it's pretty remarkable that English Patients went through, but as an independent film, it was released by Miramax, which was obviously a subsidiary of Disney at the time. Miramax, I think, had 20 nominations at this ceremony, so this was like a ascendant Harvey Weinstein moment. Lots of problematic folks in this one, Joyce, / criminals. Harvey Weinstein was obviously convicted.
A lot of canceled people.
Certainly canceled. But English Patient was a Fox movie that they pulled out on in the last week, because they wanted a movie star in it, like a Demi Moore, and not Kristen Scott Thomas, who Anthony Minghella and Saul Zaentz were stumping for in the lead. Kristen Scott Thomas obviously got nominated for Best Actress. So to me, when I English Patient is an indie, but not necessarily a indie maybe a Fargo or Shine or Secrets and Lies, these other movies that were fully thought of as independent at the time, whereas English Patient started as a studio movie.
It wasn't a direct major studio release, that's all.
Right, but that was the big thing. And I got a couple of things in the research. So after the nomination, the LA Times was Independence Day for the Oscars. And it was, I'll just read this part. Nomination for the 69th Academy Awards announced by the AMPES on Tuesday closely tracked the favorite films of film critics this year, featuring only a handful of Hollywood's bankable stars, and stressed quality acting over the big budget, computer-generated special effects that are a staple of studio films. Could write that today. If you look at the top box office movies, I mean, the year before, Braveheart and Apollo 13 were like the big movies. Both were like hits, you know, and like this year, Jerry Maguire is a hit, but the other movies that were at the top of the box office that year in 96, all-time movies here, I stress. And maybe when we do our add on 5 movies, one of these will maybe show up in my personal hopes. But Independence Day was the big movie. Twister, Mission Impossible, and The Rock were the top 4 movies. So all of those
big year for Tom Cruise.
Big year for Tom Cruise. So all of those in the theater. It was a great year. Those are great movies. Mission Impossible is awesome. Tom Cruise rules in it. Jerry Maguire was the only one of these to make the top 10 in worldwide grosses. It was 9th. Yeah, I mean, like, this was like just a different time. It does remind me now where you have like, you know, there's no, like, the movies that are nominated for Best Picture this year, perhaps an odd year because of the pandemic, but they're not always going to be in the top of the box office. So that was like, I feel like this was like a little division, even though next year we get Titanic, which is the biggest movie of all time. So it is an interesting
yeah, I mean, like, movies now you have to be, you know, an IP or like Marvel or something, right, to make this kind of bank. So,
right. It is funny reading
like a Jerry Maguire would not make let's see here, $273 million worldwide.
Right, not at all. Jerry Maguire would be like King Richard, I feel like, making like not a lot of money. I don't think Jerry Maguire makes a lot of money if it's released.
It'll be released simultaneously on HBO Max.
Certainly would. Yeah. What else, Joyce? This was like, so yeah, like in the categories, it was a lot of newcomers. Like, it's funny to watch the opening, Billy Crystal being like, look at all these fancy new people, William H. Macy and Frances McDormand and Jeffrey Rush.
It's just because his entire monologue, well, like most of it, and then just the vibe of that. I mean, when I remember watching the ceremony fully, and like sort of reading about it, but like not really, because like I didn't have the internet then. Like, I had a computer, no internet then, and like, but like reading through like the newspapers, like I was 11, and yeah, it was like the vibe was definitely like there are no stars like besides Tom Cruise,
right?
You know, and then just reading Inside Oscar 2 last night, covering this year. Cindy Adams was very pressed about the lack of glamour and A-list names.
So there were not a lot of,
why are there so many 3-name people no one's ever heard of?
Right. So there was not a lot, and it's like you have like, it just is, it does feel like a, hey, look at these, like the cool kids are crashing the Oscars. You have like Joel and Ethan Coen looking like peak grunge. I felt like their look is just like one flannel shirt away from being in a grunge cover band. You have Frances McDormand, obviously, like, and then a lot of like you know, Brenda Blethyn or Marianne Jean-Baptiste or Jeffrey Rush, not necessarily grunge or fresh faces.
Jeffrey Rush, grunge.
But like, you know, like they're just like, it's like a new thing. And I felt like watching the show, I don't know if you got this sense too, is that this felt like a little bit like a microcosm of what happens, or this is like the butterfly effect. What is that thing? Like the butterfly effect, where it's like, this is like the start, which leads to what we just saw this year. Because you have, while the star power of the nominees, and certainly the Best Picture nominees, is not high wattage, let's say, and Tom Cruise is like the biggest name nominated for an Oscar in acting, then you have the category, and it's like, who can we throw in here that's like famous and kids like? So it's like Chris Farley and David Spade, you know, Courtney Love, obviously an actress there for People versus Larry Flint, but known as like this Beavis and Butthead presents sound editing.
Love Beavis and Butthead.
It's just one after the other. You have Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith promoting Men in Black before it comes out, but there they are. Chris O'Donnell, who plays Batman according to the opening announcer, and then they correct it and they're like, oh no, actually he's Robin.
But then on the show, what did it call him? It was like an exciting young actor from Batman Forever and Scent of a Woman.
Yes. Jennifer Lopez is there. It just feels like they're trying to be young-ish. I felt like watching the whole thing over and over again. It just felt like the presenters were more along the lines of Jacob Elordi and Rachel Zegler than what we saw previously, where it was like bold Hollywood glamour. Like the 92 ceremony was just full of just A-list.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't, like, those people were also there to promote things, right?
Right.
Like, what was Jacob Elordi promoting when like Euphoria is over?
He's promoting himself, I guess. I don't know. I just feel like all of these like Claire Danes is there obviously for Romeo and Juliet, but like, I don't know. I'm like, it just feels
you wanted Paul Newman and Elizabeth Taylor back, is what you're saying.
Correct. And instead we've got like, like it's like the MTV Oscars. Jim Carrey does a bit where he talks out of his ass at one point. He does his like Ace Ventura.
Like hilarious because, well, he was also a huge star then. I mean, come on.
He jokes about it in the opening that it's the weekend Liar Liar came out and
it killed. So that was his line. If you're watching that clip out of context, that's what he means when he says like,
it's like I had a great weekend. How about you guys? It's also took place on a Monday, which as you mentioned before we recorded, the Oscars used to take place on Mondays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fun. I would be so excited to come home from school to watch the Oscars.
So this ceremony was, like we said, the first time Billy Crystal hosted in 4 years. It was on the Monday, March 24th, 1997. So pretty late. It was a 3-hour and 35-minute show. So still shorter
than this year's.
And it was watched by 40 million people, which was a slight dip from the year before, which was 44 million people when Braveheart won and Whoopi Goldberg hosted. But the same time frame, the year before was March 25th. 1996, and this one is March 24th, 1997. I don't know. What do you think, Joyce? So we could go through it. You want anything else about the ceremony or the independence of it all before we hit these winners?
Yeah, if you watch Billy's monologue, a lot of jokes about, the worry and the fear of the studios because the indies are coming.
It does feel like the worry and fear of beauty. And basically what I've noticed here is every Billy show is like playing to the room of their insecurities. So the 92 show is, hey, animated movies, we're screwed. And this year it's like indie movies. Good luck, guys. I don't know what we're going to do. I thought that was really funny too. He mentions it multiple times in the opening. Mm-hmm. The other thing, Joyce, before we move on, they even compare it to this year's ceremony. Billy did a website. It was a cheer moment before the cheer moment, Joyce. He did www, which is no longer, it's a defunct site because I did go look at it. And it's www.whyistheshowsolong.com. It was a website.
Kept 20 domain.
Yeah. And he set up there so people could go to write jokes, it seemed, for the ceremony. And then he would read them on the Oscars. So huge cheer moment vibes from this. And the jokes are horrendous.
He read, in the clips that they've uploaded, he read 3 of them. So I don't know I don't remember him like reading more. I don't know how many more he read.
I think he read 3 of them and I only wrote down one of them, but this is the tone of the joke. It was, what is Bill Clinton's favorite movie? 101 donations. But
knee slapper.
So that's the level of humor that the audience was participating with. But it was like another like worldwide. It was like, this is definitely like a worldwide web Oscars as well. So you have that website. And I think I forget who opened the show, Joyce. Who was it?
You mean like Arthur Hiller?
Arthur Hiller opens the show. That's right. I couldn't think of his name. Sorry.
The president, yeah.
President Academy. And he comes out and his big speech is about how it was honestly something you could imagine someone saying today, because it was like
completely applicable today.
Basically,
because he called it, we're in the era of isolation and everyone is just by themselves, like attached to their computer screen.
Yes. You're by yourself, attached to the computer screen, and we really need the communal aspect of sporting events and movies to bring us together. It was a strange thing because I was like, were people, and he's even talking about the divisions of the world. I'm like, this is pre 9/11. I understand like everything has always been divided and polarized, but I was like, I don't remember it being as polarized as, I mean, certainly like maybe it was because I guess it's like Pete Clinton and like the Republican coalition pushing back. But I was just like, I don't know, thinking now, it's quaint to think that was polarizing.
I know. And I'm just like, sir, just you wait.
Yeah.
Just you wait. Let's see what technology has in store. So wait,
great.
so Gil Cates returned to produce,
Yes.
which is why Billy was back.
Right.
And the theme of this year's ceremony also related to this past year's, the 94th Oscars.
What was it?
Their theme then was togetherness
Yes.
of movie going.
Amazing.
Movie lovers unite.
Movie lovers unite. So it's very similar to this year's ceremony. I guess the difference is this ceremony's 50 times better than this year's ceremony.
Oh yeah, like it's jam-packed. They did not drop any categories.
No.
They have 2 score categories, presenting them both. 2 sound categories, presenting them both.
Yep.
All the song performances. They had a Michael Flatley Lord of the Dance best editing dance break.
Yes.
So
they did a special. So Shine was a big nominee, obviously best picture nominee. They did a special moment with the pianist from Shine doing Flight of the Bumblebee.
David Helfgott.
Yeah. Yes.
He was on tour and just so happened to have a stop in LA.
Amazing. They did a Thalberg Award for Saul Zaentz, who then later wins another Oscar.
His third Oscar.
It was his third competitive Oscar after getting the Thalberg Award. In memoriam, they do a great, I just thought the whole show is just really fun. It's Shakespeare at the Movies montage with director Kenneth Branagh, I believe is how they announced.
Yeah, that's how they introed him in their rivals.
Incredible.
And Michael Kidd got an honorary Oscar presented by Julie Andrews.
Yep.
Yeah. A lot of content on the show as they had back then.
And still shorter than what we saw this year. And I would say more engaging. Mm-hmm. You said the reviews were mixed, I think you said, but I was reading a Tom Shales review from 1997 in the Washington Post the day after. He was over the moon about Billy Crystal's return. I think that was maybe like the sense that Whoopi Goldberg, and though I do think the Whoopi shows are great, David Letterman obviously is considered not what you want, though I feel like that's aged pretty well because Letterman's very funny and like arch humor maybe didn't fit with the Oscars, but people are now like a little more like amenable to that one. But he was just thrilled, Tom Shales, that Billy was back. So much fun. Felt like it was a great list of winners. Here, I'll just read you one line from the Tom Shales review. For the first time in a long time, the list of major winners did not seem to include any outright outrages or horrendous miscarriages of justice. In other words, ha ha ha, Tom Cruise lost. I gotta say, when we talk about this, I would maybe redo that one. So we'll get to that here when we do the categories. But
I don't like I enjoyed the ceremony like back then watching it. And I don't think like you said, like it wasn't a bad ceremony, especially like compared to this year's. But I think it was just kind of boring because of the English Patient's sweep.
Right. And I don't think we like English Patient is
that's not nothing you can do. You can't do anything about that, so
no, and it's like a movie that just ended up becoming like shorthand for important Oscar movie that people are gonna have to watch like homework. I mean, that was like a whole runner on Seinfeld, right? With Elaine,
yes.
Right? She didn't like it. Was it Elaine? I don't want to like get the Seinfeld fans mad at me, right? Was it Elaine who, or was it Jerry?
I haven't watched that in a while. But I do remember it.
I'll Google it quick, but I just can't say that I've like gone back and watched The English Patient a lot in recent years. And it was
I've only seen it once. I only saw it back then, so it's also a very long movie, and you know how I feel about long movies. Very long.
It's a beautiful movie. I feel like for me, it's like I don't know. I enjoyed Anthony. I enjoyed Anthony Helen's follow-up, which is The Talented Mr. Ripley, a lot more.
Yes.
I feel like than English Patient. But it is a great movie. Hard to fault it winning based on this list of nominees, and totally expected that it would kind of sweep through because it combines the grand historical epic stuff with like a lot of crafts, and the rest of the movies, because they were so quote unquote independent, you're not going to get a lot of crafts for like, Fargo or Secrets and Lies or Shine, though I would again argue I think Fargo
could definitely have won like cinematography
and score, which I think we'll talk about because
it was not even nominated,
which it should have been. Carter Burwell scores incredible, and they played it multiple times during the show. Yeah, Joyce. So let's go through. Do you want should we start with Best Picture? Or where do you want to start in the category?
We can do Best Picture. We've already been talking about it, so.
So yeah, Best Picture. English Patient won. We mentioned the other nominees, which were Shine, Fargo, Secrets and Lies, and Jerry Maguire. Personally, I would pick I would probably pick Fargo, honestly, if I was doing this again, because I love both Fargo and Jerry Maguire. But again, not surprised that English Patient won.
I would. So I don't. Yeah, Fargo would definitely my vote to win. I don't know what I would do for number 2 between Jerry Maguire and Secrets and Lies, because I enjoy those movies for completely different reasons.
Okay.
But yeah, English Patient and Shine would be the bottom 2 for me.
You'd be shocked to know that I'm like a huge Cameron Crowe fan, and I really dig Jerry Maguire.
Never would have pegged you for that at all.
Couldn't imagine it. Couldn't imagine that I would really, really, really love that movie. Yeah, the fact that Fargo was nominated was like really cool. I think it came out in March of that year before.
Yeah,
so
it came out before the previous year's ceremony.
Correct. And I think in the Inside Oscar that I read last night, Joyce, you read more of it because you're a better reader than I am. But I think
you don't know enough words to read.
It's just I ran out of words. It was a tough beat. But Gene Siskel was like, I don't think I'll see a better movie this year when he reviewed Fargo in March.
A lot of, having read like I don't normally read Inside Oscar, but having read like the previous ceremony last week and now this one, a lot of hyperbolic claims by people. Yeah. So
well, it's the reviewers are really, really, really stretching, I feel like. But
yes,
Fargo is a great movie. It's just incredibly watchable. It's so it's
and
funny
also
reading,
short.
It's also short, 90 minutes. It's funny reading the reviews, and I think that's it's like a very easy complaint about the Coens that they like look down on their characters, and I think that's kind of like follow them throughout their career because they don't always focus on people who are of the utmost intellect when they're making their movies. You're thinking of like all the dummies that George Clooney has played for them. It's like a runner basically that he plays the dumbest people on earth for the Coens. But I don't know. I didn't think Fargo was like that. I don't think it's like insulting to Marge.
No, and Marge is one of the best characters, like not just best female characters, but best characters in general.
And I don't even think it's like looking down on like William H. Macy's character either, or the laconic hitman or any of them. I think it's actually like that seems like a easy knock on the Coens that a lot of the critics were on autopilot with for this movie if they didn't like it or they don't like the Coens vibe. But no, this is like an amazing movie, and it's like probably it's not a miscarriage of justice. I don't think that English Patient won, but I mean, if I was doing it, I would probably pick Fargo.
I mean, it's just you have to look at it within the context. Like we all have our personal preferences, but it completely made sense why English Patient won, and I think everyone in the Shrine that night knew English Patient was gonna, like, even before it won 8 awards previous to that. But yeah, and that was the type of movie that won back then, like this sweeping epic.
Right.
And
it won at the Golden Globes. It won at Producers Guild, Directors Guild, right? For Minghella.
Yeah.
And it won at the BAFTA Awards. It won at pretty much everything except for the Critics' Choice Awards, which were a nascent group at that time, in the second year.
Also a different type of group back then. So Fargo won.
Yes, Fargo won
at Critics' Choice.
Right. So I think if it was this year, English Patient would have won. If it was the same group we had this year.
Yes. Yeah. And also BAFTA was still after the Oscars back then. But yeah, like it was that was just a type of, like, when you talk about like Oscar bait, like that is a perfect example of Oscar bait, English Patient.
Yeah, I think so. I think that, and not even using it as a pejorative, it just is like, this is a
that's
movie
just what it is. Like if someone came up to you, knows nothing about the Oscars, and they just heard the phrase Oscar bait and asked you to explain it to them, this is like a perfect example to give to them.
So Joyce, we went through the 5 nominees, obviously. Last week when we did this for Silence of the Lambs year 92, I think we came up with like a really solid additional 5. Like it was very easy, I think. And we even left off certain ones that I think people were like, oh, what about like fried green tomatoes or something? Like there were like other options. If we were coming up with a 10 lineup for this year, kind of tough, because the movies that we are going to love that you and I both saw in the theater.
Not going to make it at all.
Probably not going to make it. As I mentioned, like Independence Day, Twister, The Rock, not making it in. So I don't know, where would you go next year? What was the 6th movie if you had a guess?
I would say People versus Larry Flint, because
Okay.
Milos Forman got the directing nomination. And obviously Woody Harrelson got nominated as well. A controversial movie.
Mhm.
So I think that could have made it. And Sling Blade, a lot of love for Sling Blade.
Sling
For
Blade, I
Billy
think,
Bob.
would have been in before Larry Flint. So
Yeah.
Billy, this was
I'm just going in order of the categories.
Sure, that's fine. Billy Bob Thornton, this was like his breakout moment. So he produced this film. He starred in it, wrote it, directed it, shooting gallery, put it up, and then the Weinsteins obviously released it for another Miramax. Another Miramax shout out here at the Oscars. A bunch of thank you so much, Bob and Harvey Weinsteins at this ceremony. Billy got I think a standing ovation when he won for Adapted.
It was a lot of love for Billy Bob Thornton, and he thanked Elizabeth Taylor, who was one of the first champions of the movie.
Yes, she was.
Yeah.
So if you're watching that clip and you're wondering why, she was like, "This is a great." She was like really, really excited about this movie, Sling Blade. Not a movie I could say I've seen in probably since this Oscars.
I have not seen it in a long time, but I've seen it more than once. So yeah, Fargo, Jerry Maguire, and Secrets and Lies are only Best Picture nominees I've seen more than once. Jerry Maguire I've seen so many times because they also play it on TV a lot, and so
great rewatchable movie
numerous times.
It's funny watching this. Is Billy Bob is like a kind of like the platonic ideal of what the independent moment is here, and it made me laugh because I'm like, a year from now he'll be in Armageddon, which he rules in Armageddon. P.S. But it's just like he explodes after Sling Blade and is in a ton of studio stuff, and it's just funny to think that this is like him being an indie actor at the moment. But his win was great. I mean, he beat English Patient in this category, which is
that was English Patient's first loss in Adapted
kind of
Screenplay.
incredible that it actually did win.
And also when you watch that clip, like these days every nominee gets applause, right? Like, like a nice golf clap.
Yeah.
But so they go through the Adapted Screenplay nominees, and the first couple, I think Sling Blade was the fourth one, so like complete silence, and you're just like, okay, whatever. They're just like waiting, for the winner to be announced. They get the Sling Blade, huge cheer.
People really, really were excited.
And then the last one is Trainspotting, which I loved. I don't think it would be a Best Picture nominee, but I love Trainspotting. And it kind of got like the leftover applause from Sling Blade. And then, like Jodie Foster says, he wins, like Sling Blade, Billy Bob Thornton, and then huge ovation for him.
Right. Pretty incredible stuff. So Billy Bob, congrats to him. I think Sling Blade would be the sixth, maybe Larry Flint, like you said, because Milos Forman got the directing nomination.
And I don't know what else. I guess like which like popular film would make it.
I don't actually know. It's pretty tough. So here are some of the movies that I wrote down, just scribbled down, that I really enjoyed that year. The Rock, ID4. I
love The Rock. The Rock is my friend's favorite movie. And then like these days, when he just mentions The Rock without context of the movie, people think he's talking about Dwayne Johnson.
So funny thing, Joyce. I saw Ambulance this week in the theater.
Of course,
great movie. Best Picture.
The Rock.
And they reference The Rock in it. Michael Bay references The Rock because the guy does the line of Sean Connery being like, winners go home and F the prom queen, is like literally reference. And the guy goes, that was from The Rock. And his cop friend is like, I don't know. He doesn't know what that is. And he goes, you mean like Dwayne Johnson? Like they actually make that joke in the movie. So there you go. ID4, Cable Guy, Courage Under Fire, Trainspotting, A Time to Kill. None of these movies would make it in. The only ones I could think of, I don't even know. I mean, maybe Romeo and Juliet. What do you think?
I love Romeo and Juliet, and that was actually on TV the other night, and I watched like the last half of it. I don't know if, I can't see that being a Best Picture nominee, but I love that movie. All the movies I love from this year would not be Best Picture nominees. So the thing about 96 is that was the year we got an illegal cable box, sort of like we somehow got 4 pay-per-view channels for free.
Okay.
And so like the major like studio releases would just be on pay-per-view like a month after release, and they would play it like 24/7. So I watched a lot of movies starting that year. Yeah, like Jerry Maguire, like it just 24. I was just like inhaling movies. Yeah, like Independence Day, Space Jam, Multiplicity, iconic film.
Great Michael Keaton movie.
Yeah, he should have at least gotten the Globe nomination.
This was a year I was a freshman in college, Joyce, so a little older than you, as we said. And I went to all of these. We saw every single thing, every movie in the theater.
Yeah, I couldn't go out by myself to get to a theater, so I watched everything pay-per-view. Like Romeo and Juliet, I loved, and that came out the same day, October 4th, 96, as the not that one, but That Thing You Do came out the same day as D3 The Mighty Ducks. So that was like huge for me because I love both of those movies. I would nominate That Thing You Do, but
I would nominate That Thing You Do also. So let's throw that in there. I think that is a fantastic movie. Tom Hanks' directorial debut, incredibly watchable, just such a simple, effortless movie. I love it so much. I've seen it
so good.
Dozens of times. It's a great movie.
And totally robbed of the original song win.
Which we'll get to, but it seemingly is not one that is aged very well. At the same time, like I said, Andrew Lloyd Webber has one Oscar. This is it for Evita. But
he got to, and because of this, he got to complete his EGOT. So
right. I would say that the interesting thing about this year, I think, is a lot of the movies that maybe you would expect to have been potential contenders, and that's another reason why perhaps these indie movies kind of were able to jump, were just failed to launch. So like The Crucible was like one that was mentioned Inside Oscar as like a huge buzzy kind of like, we're doing this. Daniel Day-Lewis, Winona Ryder, adapting the classic book. Arthur Miller wrote the screenplay. Arthur Miller wrote the screenplay, and this is going to be it. And it failed. It just doesn't work. Doesn't come up here at all. Gets the one nomination.
Joan Allen got a nomination, and that's it. Yeah, it's just one of those classic that had Oscar buzz.
Mirror Has Two Faces, another one, Barbra Streisand, there's a great bit that reminded me of Licorice Pizza when they're doing Best Original Song. They have Goldie Hawn, Diane Keaton, nominee for Marvin's Room, and Bette Midler doing original song, and Goldie Hawn is like Barbra Streisand, and Bette Midler's like Barbra Streisand, and Goldie Hawn is like, I've known her for 20 years. It's Barbra Streisand. Don't tell me how to say it. It's really funny.
A lot of references to Barbara during the ceremony, just like last time, because again, she was snubbed because she directed Mirror Has Two Faces. And again, also in it, not nominated, but Lauren Bacall was. And so like the song from Mirror Has Two Faces was nominated.
Right.
And what is it called? I finally found someone. Right.
Yes.
Sure. Right. There's like 3 power ballads nominated that all are pretty similar.
I finally found someone.
Yes. So she didn't want to perform, and they got Natalie Cole to do it, but then she fell ill like the day before, and there wasn't and Barbara like offered to come in and do it, but there wasn't enough time for her to rehearse. So Celine Dion, who was already there performing, a rival nominee, which was the one from the
Because
Diane
You
Warren
Love Me, right?
Yeah, Because You Love Me. These titles, man.
That's from Up Close and Personal. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. So she performed both of them, and then there's a video on YouTube of her performing both songs. And then when she does I Finally Found Someone, she has the lyrics in front of her because she doesn't know them.
I mean, that's great.
Yeah, but that's Barbra Streisand. Mirror Has Two Faces, which got eviscerated. But
kind
that
of
was another
really...
movie I watched on pay-per-view. And what else was there that year?
Evita was another one.
The Birdcage.
The Birdcage is a great movie. I would have actually nominated that as well, I think. Evita was one that, like, again, this has Oscar buzz. That was a long in the development. I think like 20 years. I remember reading about that on like Corona Coming Attractions. Remember that, Joyce? There was a website that tracked movies that were coming. Madonna making a big play. It didn't work. It was a, this had Oscar buzz. So those were the movies that kind of like fell out, and then you kind of, it's hard to come up with another 10. I don't know who else. We're gonna put That Thing You Do in, and Sling Blade, People versus Larry
These
Flynn.
are like like my personal lineup would not include English Patient. Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry.
It was my personal lineup would be like
nothing against the
Scream.
movie, but I would not nominate it. I'm just
Scream would be
that's
in
just
it.
not my movie.
Happy Gilmore would be in it for me. Like these are my movies.
Like what else? I'm just like looking through 96 releases right now.
I mean, there's really not a lot that you would say like would make it. Primal Fear, I thought was like a great movie, but
it was a great
for
movie.
Edward Norton, but I don't think it would have get in. I think The Birdcage is actually not a bad bet.
Yeah, it won SAG Ensemble. The second year of that award's existence, even though it was the third year of SAG.
Right.
And it's still the only ensemble winner that did not get a Best Picture nomination. So now we frequently have Best Picture winners that are not nominated for SAG Ensemble, right? It used to just be like Braveheart and Apollo 13 when that split on the first year of that award. So yeah, Birdcage, just such a great film, and like Mike Nichols, like on fire, like
incredible.
Emmanuel Lubezki, that opening shot, like
incredible opening shot. You could throw it in for, I would say, cinematography and maybe like an acting nomination too. I don't know.
Yeah, like Nathan Lane
For supporting.
Robin Williams.
Or Robin Williams, both great. Incredible.
I'm scrolling through these releases. I'm like, what would I nominate here?
I mean, I think we got to 8.
Sequel.
Which one?
A very Brady sequel.
Bottle Rocket, we could throw in. Swingers, I would throw in, but I don't think those are gonna like make it. But I mean, it's funny that this is like definitely the year of the independents, but I think the independents that are most well remembered now were not coming in, right? They didn't like Bottle Rocket and Swingers are two of probably the biggest long, like they still have a long tail, I guess, at the end here. But these other ones that got in, like Secrets and Lies and Shine, not as necessarily as sticky in the culture as those other ones.
Yeah, those are movies that just like cinephiles know.
Not even necessarily like. Do you think there's a lot of people running around, no offense to Scott Hicks and Shine, but going like, man, let's ride or die for Shine?
I don't know anyone who has seen Shine.
Harvey Weinstein.
But I know people who've seen Secrets and Lies. Secrets and Lies is a great movie.
Harvey Weinstein tried to get Shine at the Sundance Film Festival.
Yes.
And
he lost it.
Lost it to Fine Line, I believe, which is a subsidiary of Warner Brothers. And when he lost it, he went up to Scott Hicks and raged, "You effed me on this. You effed me on this." So another great moment in just awful Harvey Weinstein.
You know, he just really wanted that Best Actor win as well. So, but also Shine is a total Miramax movie.
It really is. I was surprised it actually wasn't Miramax. It's so funny.
It almost was. So
let's go to Best Director.
Sleepers was a great movie.
Sleepers was a great movie. Saw in the theaters. Loved it. Best Director, Anthony Minghella won for English Patient. No kidding. Joel Cohen, Milos Forman, Mike Leigh, and Scott Hicks. If I was doing this again, I think I would again, not to belittle Shine, but I would punt Scott Hicks out of here and put Cameron Crowe in for Jerry Maguire. I think that's like an egregious snub. Really, really should have been in here, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, this lineup does not surprise me, and I'm not surprised that Cameron was snubbed.
I'm not surprised either, but yeah. I mean, like, he should have been nominated. It's great. It's like I'd argue it's his best movie, even as an Almost Famous stan. And I think it is really good.
I would. It's my favorite movie of his.
Yeah.
Even though like I really like Say Anything.
His movies are great, Joyce.
Yeah.
Now
I like his early movies.
Yeah, lately not the greatest, I would say. Not the best run lately.
Did you make it through Elizabethtown?
Oh yeah, I actually like Elizabethtown, but I think Aloha is like a real rough sit.
Aloha,
tough.
Yeah,
that's a tough beat.
Quite a legacy, Aloha.
Oh boy, it's real rough. Yeah, Minghella won, not surprised at all.
No, that was after English Patient lost 3 awards. That was its comeback with Anthony Minghella. So, and it was his daughter's 18th birthday that day.
Well, it's very sweet. And Anthony Minghella unfortunately died.
When he died, I was like, oh my gosh, because he died really young.
Pretty upsetting. Followed English Patient with Mr. Ripley, and got a producer nomination for The Reader after his death.
So he and Sidney Pollack died within like 2 months of each other in 2008, and they both did The Reader.
Sad.
So
Best Actor, Joyce, let's go to that. So Jeffrey Rush won for Shine, just the most performance, I feel like. Just a manic, playing the pianist David Helfgott. Tom Cruise, Ralph Fiennes for English Patient, Woody Harrelson for People vs. Larry Flint, and Billy Bob Thornton for Sling Blade. Obviously, if I was doing this again, Tom Shales, no offense, Jerry Maguire and Tom Cruise should have won. I think this would have been like, this is the Jerry Maguire win that he needed to get. And he'll never win one now, I don't think.
Well, he's also like not very concerned with winning an Oscar.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, like, he was great. Obviously, like, I think in that late 80s run, he was trying, like, with like Born on the 4th of July.
I mean, like in the past like decade.
No, now he's just fully Mission Impossible. Top Gun Tom Cruise going to fly a plane and launch himself into space. But at this point, I think he was like looking for it.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with that. Like, because he has Magnolia after this as well.
And I mean, this is like an all-time performance. Like, I feel like he's so good in it. It's a great character. It's definitely like his most memorable, I think, role, not like in a non-franchise movie, right? Like, I think most people know him as Jerry Maguire, and it's a movie that fully does not work if he's not good. The whole movie rests on his shoulders. It's called Jerry Maguire. It's just a strange movie that's like a rom-com, but also like just like a Cameron Crowe, James L. Brooks type movie that doesn't really have any kind of like identifiable, I don't know, like it doesn't fit neatly into any genre. It definitely, like, I think I saw Cameron Crowe compared it to like Sweet Smell of My Success and The Apartment, I think was what he was looking for, right?
Yeah, he wanted like Jerry to be a mix of those two characters, like the leads of those two movies, I think.
I just think he should have won. I would definitely give it to Tom
I would
Cruise.
be totally fine with Tom Cruise winning for Jerry Maguire. And in hindsight, it's kind of like, why didn't he win when you all were so worried about the indies coming for you guys, like the studio? And like Jerry was the one studio Best Picture nominee, and like this was peak Tom Cruise, right? Like, you know, he had Mission Impossible that same year. It could have been like, congratulations for your year win. Yeah. He's great in the movie. It feels like it could have been like that type of huge blockbuster, like crowning of an A-list star moment. Yes. But at the same time, you know, knowing what Jeffrey Rush does in Shine, that also makes sense. But the thing is, Jeffrey Rush is not in Shine a lot. He's in there for like 30 minutes. Like the two lead wins this year, probably the shortest ever combined, because Frances McDormand is also in Fargo for like 30 minutes.
Right. I don't think she shows up until like 50 minutes into the movie.
Yeah, I think it's earlier than that, but it's like Jeffrey Rush, you know, like Noah Taylor as the teenage young adult David carries that movie, and he was snubbed. Right. Like he was a lead, like he has more screen time than Jeffrey Rush does, but like Jeffrey Rush has like all the baby stuff at the end.
I felt like if you look at these winners, I think in the acting ones, and we'll get to this like Lauren Bacall, I wonder, and it kind of Tom Shales mentions it in his review, and he's like, "Ha, F Tom Cruise," basically. But I do think this is like pushback on the idea that after Al Pacino won for A Scent of a Woman, which I don't think anybody, including Al Pacino or anybody at the time, was like, this is a great Al Pacino. We got to get Al Pacino an Oscar for this movie. It was, we got to get Al Pacino an Oscar.
Yeah, because you guys messed up in the 70s.
Because they messed up, and it felt like definitely like a makeup time. And I feel like this would have been like a kind of a sentimental. I think Tom Cruise is incredible in the movie, and I do think he deserves to win. But you could argue that he should have won for like, you know, Born on the 4th of July or something else. And like Lauren Bacall, obviously it's her first nomination after like 50 years. She was going to win. I don't think Mirror Has Two Faces is incredibly memorable in her career, but she would have won because she's Lauren Bacall. Tom Cruise maybe would have won because he's Tom Cruise. And I think this Academy at this point in time is maybe trying to push back against that notion that they are like just sentimental hacks a little bit. And so that also, I think, played into Tom Cruise losing. And also maybe Tom Cruise is too famous, and it's like, does Tom Cruise need an Oscar? Screw that guy. But he should have won. That's my take.
I mean, you know, we just gave it to Will Smith. who's like,
well, now it's a different time. It's a different time, Joyce. You could slap people.
No,
in the
I mean,
face
like they gave it to Tom Hanks 2 years in a row.
Yeah, but
like
Tom Hanks was more of an
after-
actor. I think Tom Hanks, even though he's a massive movie star, was also more of an actor, or thought of more as an actor than Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is like a movie star.
And then, I mean, and well, the year after this, they give Jack Nicholson his third. So it's, I think the other thing with Tom at that point is maybe they were thinking there's another chance with him. And like, yeah, yes, he does get nominated for Magnolia and supporting 3 years later, loses. And Michael Caine was like, you know, you don't want to win in supporting because your rate will go down. But has not been nominated this century.
No. And
that was
based on his like output, he's not going to be. There's nothing coming up.
No, which is fine. Like that's not something, he's not chasing it. That's totally, he gave back his Golden Globes.
He did.
After they were canceled.
He did. So. Good for him.
But yeah, and then I do think, you know, like this slate, like I think Billy Bob is like the cool pick now. It will be the film Twitter pick.
Yeah.
Right. If this what we're happening now. Woody is the classic like controversial movie pick, like, you know, he's not winning. And then Ray Fiennes is like the lead of the sweeper who does not win.
Right. He's Benedict Cumberbatch, Ray Fiennes.
Yeah. But you know, Power Dog did not win.
But in theory, that's what it is. It felt like very similar performances to me.
Yeah. And Jeffrey Rush, also at this point, Jeffrey Rush was not famous. So they could have definitely just pushed Noah Taylor, who was younger, and we know they don't really like young men, but like he's the lead of that movie, you can argue, because you know it's a split role, but he's in it more. And they could have pushed like Jeffrey Rush in supporting, but Jeffrey plays the adult David, and you know it ends with him and everything. So I understand why they made the decisions they did with in terms of the placement, but it's still a baller move to be like, we're gonna put him up against Tom Cruise, like the big
and win.
Yeah, and he did. He won SAG. He won Globe and Drama. Tom Cruise won the Comedy Globe. So
yeah, it was not unexpected that Jeffrey Rush would win. He was sweeping, but I just think that Tom Cruise should have won. Best Actress, Joyce, will go there. Frances McDormand obviously wins for Fargo. I thought her speech was great. It's funny watching like a young Frances McDormand at the Oscars and comparing it to her more cantankerous approach the last 2 times she's won since. She's a little more, at least less jaded here than she is now, I would argue.
She doesn't have time for this anymore these days, and I respect that.
The other nominees were Brenda Blethyn for Secrets and Lies, Diane Keaton for Marvin's Room, Kristen Scott Thomas for The English Patient, and Emily Watson for Breaking the Waves. I mean, Frances McDormand here in a runaway. I can't imagine any of these other ones. It's such a I would argue a weak category that Diane Keaton got in for Marvin's Room. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't think this is the most competitive category. I think you could have had Courtney Love in here for People versus Larry Flint. She was probably the most high profile snub.
Well, and Madonna.
And Madonna, who won at the Globes. But again, that movie was not the most well-received. Evita.
I think like Brenda was probably the runner-up. And I would say like she and Marianne Jean-Baptiste, who plays her daughter in the movie, they're co-leads, and they frauded Marianne in supporting. I'm pretty sure they have the same amount of screen time. And yeah, Brenda won the Drama Globe, and then she would later win the BAFTA. But there's just something about Marge. You know, that's just like such an iconic character. And it could have easily been a caricature, but she feels like such a fully realized person, and it's like the way Frances plays her. And there's so many great scenes, and also like the way it's written as well. Like she has this like inner life, and she's like you were saying before about like they're dumb characters. Like she's not dumb, right? Like she's good at her job, and she has this, you know, good marriage at home, and like there's just all these like little moments where you see that she is smarter than you might think she is when you first meet her. You know, like that diner scene with like her old classmate, like Mike. Is that his name?
What's
Right?
yeah.
Like, yeah. And then he's like saying like his wife died and whatever, and it turns out like he's lying and everything. Like it's like all these like little subtle moments, and it's a great performance. And again, not a lot of screen time. She's in there for like half an hour, but that's just, it's the impact that you make, right? And I think it's a different type of impact that Jeffrey Rush makes, even though the screen time is comparable, because
Right.
his is just kind of like super bait. This is not
Right.
like Marge is not a baity role or performance,
No.
right?
It
So
it's also like this is a hack term, but it's instantly iconic, right? Like her performance, like
yes,
easily spoofable, even in a movie that's an indie movie. I think it was well known enough in the culture that like Billy Crystal could easily reference like her Minnesota accent, or like her like leaning over to barf in because she's got morning sickness. And everybody who's watching the Oscars, the 40 million people, are like, I know that joke. I understood that reference.
yeah.
And yeah, just no problems with this win at all.
Yeah, I think like Brenda would have been a good win as well, but I just, Secrets and Lies is just like, another Mike Leigh film that was not going to win anything.
Right.
Like, he can't win. They'll nominate him, but no wins.
So if I was doing this again, I would obviously boot Diane Keaton. No offense to the great Diane Keaton, for Renee Zellweger and Jerry Maguire choice.
Yeah, Renee was great. Another one of those sort of like Kristen Scott Thomas, where the studio might not want that particular person. Her casting in that movie feels similar, because you would think like the studio would want like a bigger name, right? Like an established star.
Right.
And yeah, she's great in it. It's funny that they nominate Diane Keaton here, because at the Globes, like Meryl Streep was nominated.
Right. Yeah, I'm like, Renee Zellweger not being here is wild, but obviously they do makeup immediately. She's soon to be an Oscar fave here in the next few years.
Yeah, Renee did get the SAG nomination. The SAG nominations are kind of wild. Not as wild as supporting actor this year.
But... So read them off. What do you got for SAG?
Well, in supporting actress, SAG.
Well, let's go there. We could go. You want to go there next, or you want to stick with actress?
Well, they nominated her in supporting actress. Well, I can read both. So
okay.
SAG in lead actress, they gave it to Frances McDormand.
Right.
And the other nominees were Brenda Blethyn, Diane Keaton, Jenna Rollins for Unhook the Stars, and Kristen Scott Thomas.
Okay.
And then in supporting actress, Lauren Bacall, who won, Juliette Binoche for The English Patient, Marissa Tomei for Unhook the Stars. Huge Unhook the Stars fan.
Wow. They really went for it.
Gwen Verdon for Marvin's Room, and Renee Zellweger for Jerry Maguire.
So that's category for it, because she's the lead, obviously. I think, like, not a supporting character. Bonnie Hunt is a supporting actress in Jerry Maguire.
Regina King is a supporting actress.
Renee Zellweger is the lead actress in Jerry Maguire. I would nominate her. She doesn't beat Frances McDormand though. Nobody does. Frances is awesome in this movie. For supporting actor, Joyce, another category which I think has got, a lot of people. I could come up with a lot of different nominees. Cuba Gooding obviously won for Jerry Maguire. William H. Macy was nominated for Fargo. Armin Mueller-Stahl for Shine. He plays David's father. Edward Norton for Primal Fear, and James Woods for The Ghost of Mississippi. Those are the 5 nominees. Edward Norton, I love in Primal Fear. It's a movie. It's a performance that's great. It was like the first big Edward Norton performance. I think
he had a big year because he was also in Larry Flint.
And Larry Flint, he also could have got nominated. I think Primal Fear is like has that incredible twist ending where it kind of reframes what you think of the movie. Obviously, he's been like conning Richard Gere's character the whole time. Spoiler alert for a 20-year-old movie, 25-year-old movie. Great. I love that nomination. Cuba Gooding winning for Jerry Maguire was like a foregone conclusion. The audience just loved it. His speech is pretty memorable, I'd say. He immediately starts getting played off, which I think is funny. They give him like 60 seconds and he starts playing.
60, it was like 30 seconds.
He's just like, I love everybody. Everybody's standing up. Steve Martin giving him a standing ovation. It's a great thing. Obviously now, like Harvey Weinstein, Cuba Gooding now embroiled in legal trouble and pled guilty, I think, this week to what was the charge, Joyce? Do you remember?
Forcible touching, I believe.
Yes, forcible touch. So an unfortunate end. It's kind of sad watching his speech because he like thanks his like his wife, who's his like high school sweetheart. Everybody loved Cuba Gooding in the movie. Show me the money is like the catchphrase of the world. Yeah, I don't know. If I was going back and adding more people here or knocking people out, I still think Cuba Gooding would win based on Jerry Maguire. Even, you know, separating art from the artist here, it's still the best of these performances, probably.
Well, he didn't do what he was accused of then, or now then. You know.
William H. Macy is great in Fargo. I just love that performance. Edward Norton, like you said, James Woods, people were really into, I guess, for Ghost of Mississippi. He plays a incredible.
You know, these days you could bump James Woods for someone else.
Certainly, and absolutely. I would say, like, just looking at the movies that I like enjoyed that year.
Well, obviously, I would nominate like anyone from the Birdcage.
So anyone from the Birdcage.
I think they got double nominations at SAG. Yeah, they did. Yeah, so the SAG lineup.
Yeah,
for supporting actor was Cuba, who won. Hank Azaria for the Birdcage, Nathan Lane for the Birdcage, William H. Macy, and Noah Taylor for Shine, who was swapped for Armin Molestal at the Oscars. So this is the thing. This is something that Oscars does sometimes, which they did again this year. And when it happened this year with Katrina Balfe and Judi Dench, it reminded me of this. And also 4 or 5 years ago when they snubbed Aaron Taylor Johnson, who won the Globe for Nocturnal Animals, for Michael Shannon. It's like they dump like the younger actor for the seasoned veteran.
Right. If I was doing this myself here again, I could make a strong case for Vince Vaughn in Swingers. I think that he would probably get in. It's an iconic performance. Trent is an all-time character. It's a huge breakout work for him. I could definitely make the case for that. I would say Matt Damon in Courage Under Fire, I think you could consider. That was like his big actor moment for that film.
And he lost like 50 pounds.
Yeah, he plays like a heroin addict soldier. Just like big Matt Damon energy there. And Sean Connery for The Rock choice, The Sentimental Faith. Those would be my ads. Sorry to Armin Mueller-Stahl, James Woods, and probably I guess Ed Norton if I was going to bump out for one of those.
Wow, no, Ed should still be nominated.
I guess Ed would stay in, and I could bump. I would not nominate Sean Connery, but I would definitely. I think Vince Vaughn should have gotten in here. Swingers is a great movie, and he's awesome.
Ed won the Globe, so
he's supporting. That's like a definition of a supporting performance. I feel like Vince Vaughn in Swingers.
Yeah. So how like this was the Jerry Maguire win,
right?
And it makes sense. And the speech now is iconic, and everyone's seen the behind the scenes footage from the director's truck of them deciding
really
to stay
good.
on.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know like how well like the win has aged. Like I think with like the general public, it's like super memorable, and the speech is memorable, but I don't know if I would give it to him. I don't know if I would give it to him then or now.
Who would you give it to then? William H. Macy?
Maybe I really like Fargo.
Or Ed Norton. I mean, it's kind of wild that Ed Norton doesn't have an Oscar, I would say, right? Like he should. So this would be a great
because he has an American History X in 2 years, and as we all know, he loses to Roberto Benigni.
And I think there was a sense at the time that Edward Norton is going to get like a lot of opportunities to get a win, and it really hasn't materialized. I would actually make the case he probably could have won for Birdman. I thought he was so good in Birdman.
Yeah, but like J.K. Simmons.
Obviously, tough beating J.K. Simmons, and I think J.K. Simmons is a deserving winner. I don't know. I think if you're thinking of Jerry Maguire now, the problem is the Rod Tidwell performance and character is like so cliched that it doesn't have as much. It just feels like kind of hack a little bit.
Yeah, it feels like one of those wins like in the moment, like they were just like really into the performance, and it's like so charming, and it was like an easy vote.
And it's like he's the like of the cat. He's like the third or fourth best performance in the movie. Yeah, that's the other problem.
Yeah,
like I don't know. It's a memorable win. I don't know. I still think in this lineup he would win. I don't know. William H. Macy is great.
I mean, yeah, like I'm totally not surprised he won.
I mean, I would put Vince Vaughn. I let him roll. Let's roll with Vince. Let's go to supporting actress choice. This was just a shock. Everything about this whole sequence is just
this is what we were missing from this year's ceremony. This huge upset.
So the nominees, we'll do the nominees. So the nominees were Juliette Binoche for English Patient, Joan Allen for The Crucible, 1 year after her nomination for Nixon, Lauren Bacall for Mirror Has Two Faces, Barbara Hershey for Portrait of a Lady, which was Jane Campion's first film after The Piano, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of flopped here. Not a maybe again one of those that this had Oscar buzz that didn't buzz. And Marianne Jean-Baptiste for Secrets and Lies, that was like her breakout performance,
but like a fraud because she's a lead. And
everyone expected Lauren Bacall to win. You have her memoir out. We'll read that in a second.
I do. Yeah.
So Kevin Spacey is the previous year's winner for supporting actor for Usual Suspects. He comes out to announce Best Supporting Actress. This is pre-American Beauty win, but like Kevin Spacey is at his cultural height, I would argue here, or ascendancy. Obviously, again, another actor who has been summarily disgraced and for being accused of sexual misconduct and assault. At the time, he was, I think this is like right around, honestly, the time he maybe hosted SNL, the classic SNL, where he does a lot of his impressions, including Al Pacino and Christopher Walken. And Billy Crystal comes up to him as he's about to do the announcement of Best Supporting Actress, and he makes him do his Christopher Walken. It's so uncomfortable, I think, even though it's like a okay Christopher Walken. It's certainly not like Kevin Pollak level Christopher Walken. And it just feels like, again, like what I was saying earlier about the whole general show, it feels like a little bit of like trying to steal valor from young, skewing pop culture to get the kids excited. Because Kevin Spacey was like, again, his SNL was like a big deal. And I feel like this is like playing off of that. And it just doesn't work. I don't know why we're doing it. And it's just like a really big, like, he gets more shine than like any of the other presenters, I feel like, for these acting categories.
It was funny because like I've seen that this category, that video many times. Watch this clip a lot is what I'm saying. Don't really watch the Cuba clip that much. But when I rewatched it, it immediately starts with Mira Sorvino saying like, and the Oscar goes to Cuba Gooding Jr. They don't do the intro like, and now like to present Best Supporting Actor, last year's Supporting Actress winner Mira Sorvino, and like her whole banter or like read the nominees. But they included that whole shtick with Spacey's Walken impression, which is not the best. And even without pre-Me Too, it's still rough. Like like that could have undergone a rewrite. But so he does that, reads, or they go through the nominees, and everyone expects Lauren Bacall to win. Should I read the excerpts now?
Please. So she was the sentimental.
So I have Lauren's memoir. Highly recommend. It's called By Myself and Then Some. It was published in the 70s, and then I think in like 2005 she wrote some additional chapters, including about the Oscars. So so she like in the lead up, she said she was like surprised by these nominations because she's never been nominated for the Oscars before. She's won 2 Tonys, but never, like, her film career, like it wasn't a flop, but like she never got like that love from the industry, right? But then she was surprised that she won the SAG Award, the Golden Globe, and she called it the Broadcasters Award, which is
pretty great.
Award. And then so she says, but the Academy Awards were much more public, with much more stress attached to them. Also, it was the year of The English Patient, a Miramax release, and Harvey Weinstein was known for being a master at pushing his movies. This is kind of a foreshadowing here. And then, so the night before the Oscars, there was a dinner. She went there with her kids. And then she says, Kevin Spacey sat with us for the dinner. He was sure that I would win. My old crush and special friend, Kirk Douglas, and his wife, Anne, were there. Kirk delivered a most flattering and sweet toast to me. They all said, I was a shoo-in. I said, beware of shoo-ins. They often are the losers. But they would have none of it. Quote, "You deserve it. It's about time." All those words were repeated by many. "You can't lose." So then she describes like the day leading up. So blah, blah, blah. Okay, so the evening began with Masters of Ceremonies Billy Crystal. I did my best, trying to look relaxed as though I was enjoying myself. I doubt I was very convincing. The truth is, I wanted
just pause there for 1 second. She was not very convincing. She looked unhappy the whole time.
Well, here she admits it. The truth is, I wanted to win. No matter how you try to rationalize it, to be nominated is fine. Chosen by your peers, etc. But it's better to win. In any contest, that is the goal. So she erroneously says that the first award was supporting actress. Not correct.
Incorrect.
Supporting actor was first, but in her mind, that was the only award.
Sure. Maybe that was when she showed up.
Yeah. So then Kevin Spacey came out with the envelope in his hand, announced the nominees, looked at me, and smiled. Opened the envelope. Quote, "And the winner is." He was so sure. My heart was pounding so loud, I thought I would faint. Steve, her son, was squeezing my hand. His voice dropped. Quote, "The winner is Juliette Binoche, the English Patient." It was the English Patient down the line. Harvey Weinstein had done it again. I felt so badly for my children. They were so upset for me. Steve turned white. He couldn't believe it. Sam and Leslie were stunned. We got through the rest of the program and headed for the great dinner. Chocolate Oscars at every place. I felt very alone. No matter how you slice it, this was a ball for winners. Kevin Spacey was there. He came over and invited me to the dance floor. Thank heaven. It's not a good thing to be a shoo-in.
Wow.
There you go.
So when Juliette Binoche wins, she gets up there and is like, "I'm so surprised. I did not expect to win. I thought Lauren was," which I feel like is salt in the wound.
I know, I know she had good intentions, and I completely understand it because she was shocked. Like, that is a shocked reaction.
She was shocked. It's one of the biggest, I would say it's one of the biggest surprise wins in my lifetime, right? At the Oscars, like no one expected it, I don't think. Yeah. But in hindsight, it feels like kind of obvious to me.
Yeah, but she's great in English Patient.
So she's great in the English Patient. Obviously, it's like the biggest movie. It's winning 9 Oscars. It's got the most nominations. And Mirror Has Two Faces is not a good movie and did not really rate very highly with the Academy. And so you'd only be giving her a sentimental Oscar, which, like I said, Scent of a Woman notwithstanding, they don't really do that much anymore, right?
Yeah, and also Al Pacino he was double nominated that year. He had 6 previous nominations. This is Lauren Bacall's first nomination.
Right. This reminds me of like when Stallone lost for Creed and Mark Rylance won. Yes. It's a similar kind of vibe where everyone just assumed that Stallone was going to win because it was like time to give Stallone an Oscar.
And it was Rocky again.
And it just doesn't play like that. If they don't think the movie, if they don't like the performance or they don't think the movie is like a big enough deal, while I do think Creed is awesome. And when we do that Oscars, I would say like give that Best Picture for that year. I don't know. I'm not surprised that she lost. It's funny that everyone expected her to win. That was like,
yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, she had swept leading up to it. I think it is rough when you've won everything leading up to it, and then you're being told by Kirk Douglas and Ann Douglas and Kevin Spacey that you're going to win. Like, it's hard, even if you personally are trying to keep your expectations low, when everyone is saying it to your face. I think that's very hard. And
the other thing is,
you want to win
with English Patient. You often want an acting win if you're a Best Picture, or the Academy wants to give it an acting win. And the only place it was really going to win or could win was here, because Frances McDormand was not going to, Kristen Thomas was not going to beat Frances McDormand, and Ralph Fiennes was not going to beat Jeffrey Rush. And so this was like the most easiest spot to give English Patient an acting win was here. And I think that's really what happened. Like, it's funny that she chalks it up to Harvey Weinstein, but I actually don't think, if I was making a list of like Oscars that Harvey Weinstein's aggressive campaigning stole in the 90s, this would not necessarily be on my list.
Well, I think it's more like just the general push for English Patient, not specifically Juliette. But I think what also helped Juliette is, like, you could argue that's like a lead performance, like a borderline lead. I think she and Kristen probably have comparable screen time as well. And then in Inside Oscar, they talk about the campaign strategy for both of them, like who would be where. Like, because you could say like Kristen could go supporting too, but they opted to push Kristen lead because she is Ray Fiennes' lover. in the flashback scenes, even though that's the flashback scenes, you know. But I'm pretty sure like they're in it around the same amount of time. Obviously, the, you know, like I said, the biggest fraud is Marianne Jean-Baptiste, because I'm pretty sure she's in there for like an hour.
She's fully
Complete fraud. Like they're co-leads, she and Brenda. Yeah, so like, you know, English Patient, the big movie, Juliet's great in the movie, and she has more screen time, and also like, I hate this word, like, but a more likable character.
wow.
You know, when it, like Lauren's character in Mirror Two Faces, great, but you know, not the nicest character.
A little sharp edged, a little more sharp
Yeah.
edged than like the
And you know,
kindly
sometimes
nurse.
they award characters like that, especially in supporting, more so in supporting than lead, definitely. But back to the Stallone thing, the other theory as to why he lost, besides the fact that, like, you know, Creed was a soft movie for the industry as a whole, is that, you know, he lacked the respect, or he had like a bad reputation in the industry. And I don't think Lauren Bacall lacks respect, but you know, it was her first nomination, so like, why did they never nominate her, you know, back in the old Hollywood days? And then also in Inside Oscar, there's like all like the gossip around like, oh, like people don't really like Barbra Streisand, so this was kind of like their way to get back at Barbara.
Right. That's the other issue. Pretty shocking. Again, a shocking moment. And the entire thing is just a time capsule. Definitely worth watching if you go to YouTube, just to see every moment of that is just.
I've gifted like both of their reactions, because like Juliet is shocked. The other three are just like, whoa. And Lauren is just trying to compose herself.
Oh, she looks so unhappy. It's so upsetting, honestly. You just look so mad.
Like, you do feel bad for them. Like, it's rough.
Tough beat, especially because, like, I mean, you know, it's just like, that's it. Like, that's her one, this was like her one chance, let's say, right? Like, it was kind of a comeback.
Yeah, she wasn't nominated again. She got the honorary Oscar in 2009, and then she died 5 years later. The problem with the Oscars as well is they wait way too long to give honorary Oscars to these legends who can leave at any moment.
Yes.
So
we'll go through, I don't want to go through every category because we've gone on so long. This is such an enjoyable Oscars choice, I have to say. But we mentioned screenplay, adapted screenplay went to Sling Blade, huge ovation, beat English Patient. Trainspotting, a cool nominee here. I was really excited to see it there. Original screenplay, Fargo wins, no notes, great script. Fun nominees here. And again, I have to say, Shine would not be on my list. So the nominees were Fargo, Jerry Maguire, Lone Star, John Sayles, great script, really good movie. Secrets and Lies for Mike Lee, and then Shine. I would put Scream in here. That would be my ad.
Imagine Scream as a Best Picture nominee.
I don't think it would have gotten a Best Picture nomination, but I think you could argue that it should actually gotten a script nomination, especially thinking now to like what gets nominated. Like, obviously, like the social commentary of Get Out makes it a little more important in air quotes, but like Scream was like a mind-blowing movie, I think, and restructured how people think of the genre in a similar way that Get Out did with the horror genre. And I feel like that alone would have gotten it in. I don't know. If I was doing this myself, I would pick Scream. Not to win. Fargo obviously is the winner, but I think Scream could get in.
Yeah, it's kind of like these days you might, well, I mean, I think like the Lone Star nomination is pretty cool. Like I kind of forgot about John Sayles.
Yeah, really cool.
Until like I stumbled across this again. Yeah, he was someone back then who you think was gonna blow up and just didn't really, you know. But and also that's a controversial ending to that movie, Lone Star. Yeah, and Secrets and Lies, Mike Lee, just never gonna win. But he won. I think he won the BAFTA. Yeah, he had to have won the BAFTA because, you know, it's Mike Lee. Right? Yeah, he won the BAFTA.
Yeah.
So it's funny to think that like they could have gone to Secrets and Lies as one of the Best Picture nominees here, with also directing nomination, and you know, Fargo could have lost. There's a universe where they could have preferred Secrets and Lies over Fargo, and Fargo was the only other movie to win multiple awards this night.
I
And
wonder.
Secrets and Lies could have won those two categories that Fargo won.
So I wonder if we were doing it right now, the same Oscars with the Academy makeup that we have now, which is much more international, I would argue, than it is at this time. Does it win those Oscars? I think you can make the case that like Secrets and Lies would have, based on how it performed at BAFTA and just based in general on like the more international makeup of the Academy at the moment, that Secrets and Lies would have outperformed Fargo.
I don't know. I mean, like some of the wins this year does not necessarily reflect the higher brow taste that you would assume international.
Well, what about like last year? Like The Father. I would like, it's different movies, obviously, but I feel like The Father and Secrets and Lies are more of simpatico, maybe.
Yes.
And like, I think the international voters buoyed the Father wins last year. And I think Secrets and Lies could have benefited from that if it was a little more international.
Yeah, and they're both movies. Like I think there was more passion for The Father. I don't know. I don't remember what it was like in '96, but it's like Secrets and Lies is a great movie. Yeah. And yeah, I could, or maybe they just split it. Like maybe Francis still wins, but Secrets and Lies wins screenplay.
I do think Francis would win. I think maybe Mike Lee wins script, but
yeah, and then adapted, it's Sling Blade, all the way.
Pretty solid list of nominees here too. I don't know. No notes again.
It is like, because with The English Patient, because the whole thing was like, oh, no one can turn this into a movie, right? And like Anthony Minghella did it, so you would assume that he would win the screenplay award for it.
I just think it was, again, this is a case where people were so excited about Billy Bob, and the only spot it could really win, or he could win, was here, because he wasn't going to win Best Actor, and that was why he won. It was much more of a pro Billy Bob personal win, I feel like, than even the script. I think it was like, we love Billy Bob.
I mean, he's also, that is his like personal product, because it was like his one-man show, and then he made a short and then adapted. It's kind of like Whiplash, you know?
Yeah, it did remind me of that. A couple of things. We'll go through the rest of these categories quick. Just in the shorts, a couple of like, you know, this is like, I guess when people are like, keep the shorts on the show, this would be a year you could point to as like, look at who won. So Breathing Lessons, the life and work of Mark O'Brien, won for documentary short subjects, directed by Jessica Yu, who is like an incredibly talented, very prolific director who has done episodes of dozens of major shows.
I think she was nominated for an Emmy for Fosse Verdon.
Right. And she's done This Is Us, Morning Show, Grey's Anatomy, Billions, 13 Reasons Why, Fosse, like just like, so this is like a great launch pad for, I would say, her career. And then the other, one of the other short winners in live action short film was David Frankel, who obviously went on to direct Devil Wears Prada, and again, TV and all kinds of different things. Like he did Marley and Me, you know, like a pretty prolific, popular filmmaker. And that's cool that these are people who won Oscars and then like had even bigger stardom after those Oscars.
Well, yeah, because that's the whole point, and that's what the defenders of the shorts categories that people, you know, are often dismissive of, would be like, no, like this is how you breed like the next generation of talent. You know, you support their shorts and films. And yeah, the other thing with Breathing Lessons, it's about Mark O'Brien, and then, you know, later on, 15 years later, turns into The Sessions, starring Helen Hunt, who is at this ceremony. And
very
actress.
Very cool. I thought that was really cool too. A couple other, you mentioned earlier, score was comedy, musical score, and dramatic score, which I would be down if they brought that back, honestly. Myself, I don't know about you.
I believe that happened because like people were pissed that like Disney was dominating the music categories, and Disney wasn't even nominated for song this year. Like I think it got, the Hunchback got score, right? I think it did. Yeah, it did.
Hunchback is in here for score.
Yeah, but they didn't get song.
No.
So.
The nominees were for dramatic score, English Patient wins for Gabriel Yared, Hamlet, Michael Collins, Shine, and Sleepers, which was a John Williams score. Not having Carter Burwell here for Fargo is absolutely deranged. I have no idea how he missed. It's an all-time score. It might be my favorite Carter Burwell score.
It's so good, and it's even better when the Coens and Francis win, and they play the score, and it's such a great score to walk up to accept
It's
your
so
Oscar.
good. I cannot understand how it didn't get nominated. It would have won here. It's English Patient score is actually pretty famous as well, and like, of course it would win, but like Fargo score not being nominated is a sin. It just is unbearable. I can't believe it. And then for musical comedy score, Emma wins for Rachel Portman, the first female composer to ever win, and the second was for Joker, right?
Hildur Guðnadóttir, but when Hildur won, it just won the score category. So you could say that Hildur was the first like solo female to win, went with just like no genre split.
Right. Other nominees were Mark Shaman for his Wives Club, Hunchback, obviously, like you mentioned, James and the Giant Peach, Randy Newman, and Preacher's Wife, Hans Zimmer. Just a killer list of nominees here. For original song, Joyce, should we just do this now? Like, just go. I mean, You Must Love Me from Evita won. I don't even remember it. I know You Don't Cry for Me, Argentina, obviously. And that was like, remember that was they did a dance remix that was on Z100 all the time. It was like a big hit. And KTU played it a lot. So that wins. The other nominees were I Finally Found Someone from Mirror Has Two Faces, like we mentioned earlier. For the First Time from One Fine Day. Because You Love Me by Diane Warren, which I'd actually say is one of Diane Warren's best chances here for a win. I think that's like a pretty like notable song. But clearly, That Thing You Do from That Thing You Do with Adam Schlesinger, R.I.P. Who died in 2020 after complications of the coronavirus. Very sad. Just how did this not win? The disrespect for That Thing You Do.
It's just, it reminds me of, or I guess Husavic's Loss reminds me of this, where it's just like the movie's not nominated anywhere else, but the music is the centerpiece of the movie. The movie is about this damn song, not just because it's the title, but they're a one-hit wonder because of the song. And it's such a perfect pastiche 60s song that was written in the 90s and it's still timeless today. I listen to the song all the time. And I was like actually listening to it when the news broke that Adam died. And I was like, gasp. And I think actually The Wonders were my number 4 artist on my Spotify Wrapped that year. Because it's the perfect song. And that's what you want for like something for like this category, original song. Like it should be important to the movie. And we've talked about numerous times how a lot of song nominees and winners are just end credit songs. Right? It's just like they slap it on because they want to get someone an Oscar, like an extra nomination for their film. But this is actually important to the movie. I'm like, how did you just got this all wrong? Like, I'm not surprised that You Must Love Me won, but absolutely no one remembers that song.
Truly, That Thing You Do, still a good song. Still listen to it.
Yeah, and then so the performances, all of these were performed, and like we said, like Celine performed 2 of them. Madonna, Billy Crystal, when he introduces Madonna, goes on its whole spiel about like how she was snubbed for Best Actress, but she still called the Academy to be like, I am willing to perform the song. She does not have a writing credit on this, which maybe is her mistake because then she could have gotten an Oscar that way. And then he says this whole thing like she wants to perform even though she was snubbed, and the camera cuts to Barbra Streisand in the audience because Barbara obviously turned down the opportunity to perform her song, and just like kind of shady, but Barbara was laughing with James Brolin about it. And yeah, so Madonna performs that, Celine performs twice. I could not find the Kenny Loggins performance of For the First Time, not on the interwebs, but the Thing You Do performance, they had these guys, not the Wonders, perform, and there was an interpretive dance to it. Very weird. I did not understand it then because I was like, this is so disrespectful to the Wonders and Tom Hanks. And it was on YouTube for a couple of years because I watched it again after Adam died, but it's been removed, sadly.
Huge bummer. It's just great. So that was one we take back, I would say. And then anything else just before we wrap up here? The cinematography, John Seal won for English Patient. Roger Deakins here, one of his many snubbed potential wins for Fargo. I would say I could see why John Seal won, though. Honestly, I think we could have given Roger Deakins an Oscar somewhere else instead of here.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that one is fine for English Patient. Even though I really do love Fargo cinematography, and it's kind of the thing about Fargo in general was just like, it was clearly the Coens going to the next level, right?
Right.
And it was like that in every aspect of the film. Like you could see it like with the cinematography as well.
Right.
So I love the Fly Away Home nomination here. Another movie I watched a lot for Caleb Deschanel.
In cinematography, Zoe Deschanel's dad, I believe, Joyce, right?
Yeah, and then there's best makeup to the Nutty Professor.
Pretty incredibly memorable makeup for Eddie Murphy and the Clumps. Walter Murch actually won 2 Oscars here, which I thought was pretty cool. Just a legend editor. He won for sound and for film editing for English Patient. He had previously won for sound for Apocalypse Now, was nominated for editing for Godfather Part 3, Ghost, best sound on The Conversation. So just a lengthy career that kind of
the
won
costume
here.
lineup. So English Patient won for Anne Roth, who just won again last year for Ma Rainey. But this year's winner was Cruella, and 101 Dalmatians was not even nominated for
Pretty
best
funny.
costume.
But I think the costumes in Cruella probably a level up from the 101 Dalmatians costumes, or is it 101 donations, Joyce, from the great why is the show so long.com. Yeah. Speaking of why is the show so long.com, maybe that we could also probably file in on that.
No one is here anymore.
But any last thoughts here, Joyce, before we leave? So English Patient just dominating Independence Day at the Oscars until the next year when Titanic sweeps and is the biggest movie of all time. But any last thoughts, Joyce?
You just feel so sad for the studios, right? Why can't they have a win? These
poor
indies,
studios.
Yeah.
All right.
So
well, this is fun. Joyce, we'll be back again next week. I don't know which one we're going to pick. We'll talk about it, but stay tuned for more Oscars Playback, not the re-Oscarables. Joyce, I got it in here at the end.
You waited so long to do it.
Okay. Bye.